Today we're hanging out with Orvella Small, who is the Executive Director for Foothills SNAPS, which stands for Special Needs Association for Parents and Siblings.
Foothills Special Needs Association for Parents and Siblings.
I know, it's the longest name, but we can also say Foothills SNAPS.
Absolutely.
Another one of our social profits celebrating 20 years of service in the community. And has it felt like 20 years has gone by like that, or some days does it feel like 20 years?
You know, actually I would say it feels like it's gone by quickly. There's a few glitches in there, but it has gone by quickly.
And the whole 20 years you've been a part of what SNAPS is doing. Did you create it? Was it kind of your baby, your vision?
I'm one of the founders, yes.
Yeah.
Before we moved here, I lived in the north, and so I have no family. It was very important to be connected to others. And so when I moved here, I brought that with me. I wanted to be connected to others, and we had started a program up north. So it was important for me as a parent moving to someplace where I knew no one to get connected to other parents, and that's really how we got started, finding other parents.
And did you think at that time, because I mean, if the goal was really just to connect, did you think it would grow into what SNAPS is doing now 20 years later?
Absolutely not. When we started as a group of parents coming together, it was to give each other support. Hence our umbrella label of family support, which is what everything comes under in our agency. But no, it was just to provide support for each other, learn from each other, and carry on. And we do way more than that.
Well, way more. It seems like there's been a cool, I want to say, an evolution happening within your agency, because when you say on the umbrella of helping families, that can mean a number of different layers. And over that 20 years, you've managed to kind of find some really cool ways to help families.
Absolutely. And just so you know, our board is parents. So it's parents giving us direction as to what they want to see in the foothills. And so the parents that drive us give us that direction, and the parents we serve give us that direction. And so, like you say, it's finding those cool ways to do those innovative things that families need.
Absolutely. And have you found that it's changed a lot over the 20 years, or is it kind of the same thing, just a different year? Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah. No, I would agree that it's changed, because over time you revisit your mission, you revisit your vision, you revisit our objects are always going to be there, but then we revisit all of those things because you have to change with the times. So now what we did 20 years ago is totally different than what we do now. You have to change with the parents that come into the communities. They bring new things to us too. So no, I would say, we've gone through some pretty major work with our board over the last 20 years, and it's a new board every year sometimes. So you have new people coming into the board. So now there's change, definite change, and who would have thought this is what we'd be doing today?
Now, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit with this question, but do you know how many families or how many people you've helped over that 20 years? Like, it's kind of hard. I've made all four of you answer this question in the best way possible, of if you know kind of sort of a number.
So let me tell you this. 9 years ago, we were serving 64 families. Today, we are serving over 870 families, which equates to close to 3,000 people. So, and in our organization, people don't come and go, they stay, because we serve from birth to death. And so we have that longevity of that family. If they left us, we know from experience that 3 months or 3 years, they're coming back to us because they're in another place with their son or daughter or family member, brother or sister, and they need that. Now they need that new support. So most of them choose not to leave. They stay with us, and then we are connected with them, yearly through our Facebook page or our newsletters or whatever that case might be.
Well, and I would think too, some of the other ladies have mentioned that being in a smaller community, and I know you serve lots of communities within our region, but you kind of get that sort of really close feel, and you get to watch kids like 20 years ago from baby to adult to like that whole gamut in between.
And that's what's interesting, because 20 years ago when we came together, all of our kids were little.
Yeah.
And now all of our kids are grown up. They're either in their 20s to mid-20s or 30s. And so for me, what we were doing 20 years ago was very different from what we're doing now when you consider we've gone that gambit just with those initial families that started with us.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's been interesting. And then, seniors come into play, and you start looking at all those other things that need that family support. And it's just really interesting how you see where those individuals are from 20 years ago to now.
Is there any stories that sort of have stuck with you over the 20 years, or a highlight in some of the work that you've done over the last 20 years?
Well, for a long time when I was working for SNAPS, I was working because it was what was best for the organization, not because I was a paid staff. I was there volunteering my time on a full-time basis. And so those stories are harder to remember for me because I felt like I was just running. I was the only staff, so I was just running. But when I think about stories, it gets very personal for me, because my own story for me is my most passionate story, because I came here as a parent needing direction, needing to find out what was going on here, what was available here, and other parents would be able to share that with me. And I watched my own family grow to be what it is today, which is Fraser and I at home, our daughter out with her own business and having moved out of home and living in her own home. And I mean, that was always a plan, but who knew if that could come to fruition? And I think that's the plan for most families.
Yeah.
And so my personal story really is what, I guess, gives me the opportunity to share it, because our stories are very personal, and to share other people's stories is tough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yours is a great example, and I think if someone doesn't know Sheena, you find her and get to know her, because she is such a light, as are all the people and all the families that you help. But could you imagine what the struggle would have been like for you? And I don't say struggle in a negative way if there wasn't that support. Like,
Absolutely.
thank goodness SNAPS came to be.
Right. And when I think about business, our hire program actually, it promotes participants being prepared for work. But out of that, we had another young lady start her own business in Black Diamond, similar. But so we have another business operating in this area who were inspired by what they heard about Sheena. So they went, oh, well, if she can do it, we can do it.
Yeah, which is so cool.
Yeah.
If you had a piece of advice for Orvella 20 years ago, starting out on this journey from today, what would that be?
Run. No.
Stay home. Yeah.
I don't think I would change anything. I think it would be just stay true to who you are and what it is you want for the future. And I would say that for anyone. And families struggle, you use that word, but families do struggle. They don't know where to go or what to do. And that's what SNAPS is here to help them do, because we learn from every family too. We know we find out a pitfall, okay, well, we want to make sure nobody else goes through that. So we do our best to remember what goes on and make sure that we avoid those for other families.
Well, when we chatted with Sue from Literacy for Life, we talked about how babies just don't come with handbooks. And so when you incorporate into the family unit, yes, I think struggle, it sounds like a negative, but it's not. It's real life. It's a real life piece that any parent goes through no matter what.
That's right. We create our own handbook.
Yeah.
And then we hope that others will learn from us when we're doing that. I remember once at a meeting, an educational meeting, and the teachers were struggling with how to support this individual, and this one teacher said, well, we aren't given handbooks on how to do this. And really, special ed is one of the hardest things for teachers to learn. They're given one course in university and expected to do it in school. And so my response was, but we as parents aren't either, so we're here to do it together.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to do things, is together.
Well, you've had a very let's do it, figure it out as we go.
Take a risk.
Yeah, just kind of attitude the whole time, and we're really thankful as a community that you had that spirit and that drive. And I'm sure not every day was easy, because not every day is, and you had those moments, but we just really appreciate what you've done over this past 20 years.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure. And you probably know this, Jody, but I tried to retire twice.
I know. That's my next question for you. It's like, you've tried twice that we know of. What happens next? What's the next chapter for Foothills SNAPS?
I think, like most of us that you've probably already talked to, we're all in that same place of trying to figure out what's best for the organization in the future. When is the right time to do it? And as you've talked to the others, we're all founders. We were all there in the beginning, and that's the hardest part, is to let what we started go. And we have a board, and we talk about it every year, and we plan for that change or transition or whatever you want to call it. For me, because I feel like we've started over since 2013, because so much had to be redone, that I feel like I'm only 5 years into it, not 20.
Lots of energy to go. Yeah.
I don't know about the energy piece, but I feel like we are in a new, I guess, movement forward. What are the next 5 years going to look like? And so that's that. We look at 3 because it seems too hard to look at 5. So we
Break it
3.
down into small chunks. Yeah.
And we try to plan. And so I guess the biggest thing for us is our funding source. We're really funded locally and through grants. We don't have contracts. They're 3-year contracts for anything. So us is if we can get us somewhat stable, then it's a good time to go.
Yeah. So I guess that's a to be continued for
yeah, there's
what
more to
happens
the story.
Yeah, there's more to Orvella's story. So we'll see how that unfolds.
Yeah.
But again, we just appreciate the 20 years of service that you have personally done, and along with your organization, it has been cool. And I think what's also really unique, and I don't know if it happens in other communities or if it's unique to High River and the surrounding areas, but the 4 of you, the godmothers, as I've referred to you as, have also worked so greatly together as a team. You're all competing for funding dollars. You're all serving families in different ways, but you also all get together and do it together, which I think is really cool.
And that's very important, Jody, is that we don't do anything alone. So I'm sitting here talking, but I have 10 staff back at the office that are working with me to make this happen. And then as other agencies, we do coordinate and work together on things. And none of us really overlap each other, so constantly making referrals back and forth. We work together, and that's the way it should be in a community.
And it's a cool community unit that's just getting stuff done.
Absolutely.
And it's really cool. So thank you for taking time to hang out with us today.
Thanks, Jody. See everybody Saturday.